Hi everyone, it's Phil here from Ashland Leather. I've got these Vibergs that need a little bit of attention, so we're going to polish these up today. I want to give you a preview of some of the wallets, some of your wallets that are shipping out today, and I can't wait for you to have them. Up first, we've got something that's never been seen before. This is a black Chrome Excel belt with a Western print on it. There's a Tony the Ant in Amaretto and Whiskey Shell Cordovan with cigar interior. An ultraviolet Fat Herbie. An ultraviolet Bugs Moran with dark green stitching. I have two custom Fat Herbies in Color 8 Marbled Shell Cordovan. There's a Fat Herbie in a black all reverse shell Cordovan, but it's a variant on the all reverse. I have a Fat Herbie in black double reverse shell Cordovan. A Fat Herbie in black shell Cordovan with a reverse interior. A Frank the Enforcer in intense blue shell Cordovan. Johnny the Fox in black Dublin with a teal interior, Fat Herbie in English tan Dublin, and a Johnny the Fox in natural Lancaster. All right, here are the natural shell Cordovan Viberg plain toe boots. So I'm going to try to demonstrate what I would do on these boots. The process today is going to be to clean off some of the dirt, and then we're going to try to restore the luster with a product called Sapphire Cordovan Cream. So I'm going to focus on just this single boot, the right boot, and take off the laces. And then I'll put some shoe trees in here, which I've been keeping these boots stored when I'm not wearing them. I've been putting in shoe trees as a suggestion from Wyatt from Grant Stone. And I should mention, they sent me these nice pair of cedar trees for free. So that was really nice of Wyatt. When he was in here earlier this year, before coronavirus, it seems like years ago at this point, when Wyatt was here, he suggested that I put shoe trees inside of my pairs of anything, mainly to keep the shape. It sort of keeps the shoe looking like it was originally intended around a last. So that's what the shoe tree does. It does wick some moisture as well, but he said the main thing is for keeping the shape. But I've also found it helpful for another pair of boots that I polished to put a shoe tree in when I'm cleaning it, because it helps keep the shape with my pressure when I apply a brush or when I wipe off any of the dirt or apply polish. It's helpful to have a little bit of shape to it. So I've got the shoe tree in there. The first thing I'm going to do is just brush off some of the loose dirt. And as I started brushing with this brush here, I noticed that it wasn't as dense of a fill in the bristles that I wanted. I know I have another brush here. Maybe I'll plug Grant Stone again, but they were nice enough to also sell me a couple of these brushes. This particular one has a little bit more of a dense fill. It's almost like the hairs are a little bit more firm, and I think it's just more tightly packed and filled in. I find these more dense brushes a little bit better, more aggressive action to clean off some of the dirt. So let's get going. All right, so after just about a minute of brushing here, I've also already seen a bit of an improvement on the luster, but I'm also still seeing a little bit of more dirt. So still a little bit cloudy. Obviously still scratches. Sometimes the brushing is just good for cleaning off the dirt and bringing back a little bit of life to the luster. But what I'd like to do now is take a dry cloth, apply some water to it. So I'll have a damp cloth, give this thing a quick bit of moisture to try to loosen up more of that dirt and like this coffee stain or whatever that is. I'll try to clean that up a bit. I've also noticed when you apply moisture to the shell and brush it, it sort of brings back even more life. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So I'm just dipping my cloth here into a cup of water and sort of wringing out most of the water so it's not dripping all over. I just want a little bit of moisture. It's kind of interesting how red the leather is getting with just a little bit of water in it. All right, this is very lightly dampened, just a slight bit of moisture. You can see it's interesting how much more the water is penetrated on the toe here as opposed to everywhere else. I guess I did just do that part, but it seems like the water soaks up a little bit more on the toe, which is kind of interesting. So there's a very slight amount of moisture in here. I'm gonna brush it until my arm falls off, and then I think we can get back into the polishing. I'm sort of already, it's only been 10 seconds here of brushing, but I'm immediately struck with the luster development on the inside quarter here. It's much brighter and shinier, and I'm not sure how well that translates. It's almost like brushing the shell with a bit of water in it. It's like it's filling in itself and becoming a little bit more smooth and bright and shiny, which is very nice looking. And that's only after a couple seconds, so let's keep going. So I am noticing that this little drip mark is still there. I'm also noticing that the shoe itself, or the boot itself, is looking much darker than I thought it would. Here's what we had before and after. It's like more golden, orangey, a little darker. I wonder if that's because there's still a little bit of moisture in there. The reason I'm stopping is because I want to see if I can get out more of this drip mark, which is bothering me. I don't think that's very good looking. I'm a little worried that I won't be able to get that full spot out of there, but let's keep going anyways. So I think I only brushed these for maybe 5 minutes here, but the improvement, other than that little drip spot of whatever that is, it's probably food or something. It seems to be pretty in there. Other than that little spot, I can't believe how much luster has developed with just water. So my question, I suppose, is can we just polish shell with only water? And it seems like the answer might be yes, because that's really bright and shiny looking. It's really rejuvenated a lot of the luster. We've also noticed the color's a little darker. It might still be a little damp. It doesn't feel wet. So that's kind of interesting. But the luster improvement is very dramatic. I think, and it might be hard to see, but there's still scuffs and scratches. So I think I'm gonna turn the camera off and brush this for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And I think those scratches may be helped with a little bit of the Sapphire Cordovan cream, so I'll try that out too. All right, so we're back here. I brushed these for 5 minutes. I thought I would need longer, but I think I hit a point that I'm happy with. Take a look at the shine. It's very surprising to me, which it shouldn't be, because for the last 15 years, I've touched a piece of shell essentially every day. The reason it's surprising is like how well it's shined up with just a bit of water and brushing, which seems like a nice free way for people to upgrade any shell footwear that they have. That is really cool. Let me give you a before and after here. I think the biggest things are luster and color. It's almost like before I polished it, has sort of like a cloudy, dirty look, which is pretty obvious because I haven't done anything to them. But now we're a little bit darker. The color's a little bit more vibrant. I like the color more, actually. I was a little bummed out with like the lightness of color in the natural shell before. I think a lot of this very white sort of chalky look may have to do with the wax that I think Viberg may have originally finished these with. If you go back and look at the original video, I thought that when the toe flex, the break here on the toe, where it would normally crease if it wasn't shell, I noticed that that was sort of breaking a little bit white, and I think they might be putting a lot of wax onto the leather as their final finishing at Viberg. And I think you're also seeing sort of a consequence of that here on these boots now. I think it's making the boot lighter and more white. So I think by imparting a little bit of friction and some of that moisture, I've been able to sort of melt in a little bit of that wax, which is why it's looking like it is here. So I think the step we're at now, I like the luster a lot, still don't love this little spot that's troublesome. I'm not sure I'm going to fix that. I might have to do soap and water, but that's probably another can of worms. But the other things that are bothering me now are little bits of scuffs and scratches that I think I can fill in. They're almost imperceptible with touch. You can see very tiny scratches still on the toe. I can't really feel them. So I think they're very fine scuffs. Like there's one right here on the toe. And there's some scuffs here on the sides. So I think the Sapphire Cordovan cream might help to fill in some of those scuffs and scratches, but it should also make this even brighter, which it's already to a luster level that I'd be really happy with. So I don't know if I suggest even spending your money on Sapphire unless you really want to fill in some scuffs. But let's see how it works before I say anything. Maybe it won't work. So let's try it out. And some people ask me how much Sapphire I use. And it's so small. I don't even know how to describe it, but just a tiny, tiny bit on your finger. You can always add more. I think even just like a little bit like this goes a long way. You don't need much. We're just trying to put it on to just a slight cloudy haze. Okay, I've applied a little bit of that Sapphire Cordovan cream with my finger. And by the way, I prefer to do it with my finger directly because I feel like I get a lot more control. And I feel like you can feel certain spots in the leather that maybe are a little drier than others that might need a little bit extra material. But I just tried to get a nice even coat to a cloudy appearance. Not too much. I barely used anything. This wasn't a new Sapphire here, but you can see I barely used anything out of this container. You don't need much. A little bit goes a long way. In fact, using too much I've seen cause cloudy appearances even after brushing. So you can always add more, but this is where I'm at for the moment. I'm gonna let these sit. They suggest on the container to let it sit for 5 minutes. I'm gonna give it 15 and then come back and we'll give it a final brush. A little wipe off in a brush. Okay, so we let the boot sit for about 15 minutes here. I drink a ton of coffee. I'm ready to go. Let's finish these guys off. I think the first thing I'm going to do is take another dry cloth here. This has nothing on it. This has been used before, but this is nice for sort of removing a little bit of the excess polish. So you can just lightly rub across the top, kind of like you would do with the brush or horsehair brush. Some people use a horsehair brush for this. To remove the polish, I like a dry cloth personally. All right, how about that? So even just brushing off the excess polish, these are looking very incredible. It's a very nice, bright, shiny luster. The color's actually nicer in my opinion. It's a little bit more deep, a little bit more lively, I would say. It's very nice. It's sort of more of a golden color now, which is very cool. So let's drink some more coffee and brush these up here. I'm trying to get them all done. Oh, I almost forgot. Somebody wanted ASMR, so here. There's your ASMR for the day. All right, these are looking pretty sweet. Take a look at that. I don't know how to get rid of this guy. I do have some Reno mat. I'm a little scared to try it for the first time on some shell Cordovan. I bought some a while ago because I've seen people have really good results with Reno mat on some other things. I'm a little worried to try it out here, but if you have any tips how to remove that spot, let me know. But these look pretty sweet otherwise. Big things to notice, I would suspect that you would notice right away, is the color and luster. Those are the biggest changes. It's gotten darker, a little bit more red, a little bit more orange, which is cool, and definitely more bright and shiny. Filled in a lot of that cloudy, sort of hazy, white, chalky look that we had on this guy. And I think it's pretty sweet. So let me know what you guys think of this. I'm pretty happy with it. Honestly, the sapphire helps a little bit. I mean, if you got the money, try it out. You might not need anything. Just try a little bit of water and brushing. That seemed to give me the most dramatic effect here on these. And I'm really excited to finish off the other one too. I'll do a time-lapse video of this one just by itself. So let me know what you guys think. If you have any tips for remove this spot, let me know about that as well. So I hope you enjoyed the polishing on those boots. I had a lot of fun doing that, and I look forward to polishing up the second one there, doing a little time lapse of that one. Up first, I have a really interesting belt here. This is the first time I've shown one of these. This is a black Chrome Excel belt with a Western texture that we're shipping out today to a special customer. I actually have 2 more belts that I can make out of this leather in up to size roughly 44. So if you're interested in this black Chrome Excel Western belt, which I think is really cool, definitely send us a message and we'll make it for you. Up next, take a look at this Tony the Ant in whiskey shell Cordovan with an amaretto middle piece. So it's whiskey on top of amaretto. That whiskey shell Cordovan here is really shining with a golden color on top of the more orangey amaretto. On the inside, we got some funky stuff. We have cigar shell Cordovan with a reverse piece on the left, and a couple nice Horween ink stamps as well. And I have a couple special custom orders here. This is a Fat Herbie in ultraviolet shell Cordovan, that sort of magenta, purpley, awesome color. It's very nice. And these actually have a subtle dark green thread to them, which I actually think is very interesting. It's kind of hard probably to see in the video, but that green thread is making the ultraviolet just a little bit more interesting. And take a look at the inside here. On the interior, more ultraviolet shell, but on this middle piece here, we get an opportunity to not only see the Horween ink stamp in the center that we love to cut right there, but also all of the random dye marks from the reverse side of the ultraviolet. Up next, this is a Bugs Moran, also in that same aesthetic as the last Fat Herbie, the ultraviolet shell Cordovan with a dark green thread. Take a look at that. That is really satisfying to look at. And sometimes at certain angles, more of the vivid purple magenta colors come out, and other angles it starts to look a little bit more like a color 8, like a dark brown burgundy shade. But this ultraviolet is really cool. I don't think I have much ultraviolet shell left. Take a look at the inside as well. More ultraviolet shell for you with another Horween ink stamp right in the center. And I have a pair of custom Fat Herbies here, and I wanted to show you both because it's interesting to see the variation that we see. These were both custom ordered, and this customer requested to have 2 of them. This Fat Herbie is sort of a variant on our Herbie, but it's also a variant on the Herbie Traveler that we've been doing, where you can hold a passport on the side. But let's look at one at a time here. On this first one, check out this exterior piece. This is Color 8 Marbled Shell Cordovan. This one has a lot of contrast, and it's very neat. Sort of ranges from that dark brown burgundy shade to more of an orangey tan and all the colors in between. That is very, very nice. Take a look at the inside too. This customer chose to include some Color 8 reverse pieces on top of that Color 8 marbled for the additional hidden card slots. So that's one customization, but this customer also asked to leave this top section open so they could hold a passport in there. And in addition to that, they also requested to leave this card slot open. Usually we put a stitch right here, just like we did on the left side, to allow that to be a little bit more easy to use cards, but it looks like this person wants to hold more documents. So this is a really cool version. I want to show you the difference in the Color 8 marbled shells because this is very striking. On the top, this is the more dramatic look that I tend to like. It seems like more people are into this more subtle contrast on the bottom. This is also Color 8 marbled shell, but it's a little bit more of a subtle variant. You can still see the light tans, more burgundy shades. Certain angles, those colors pop a little bit more and a little less. But either way, both of these marbled shells are very, very nice. It's just a difference that I wanted to show you. And we have the same configuration and colors on the interior of this one as on the last one. And I have 3 different versions of our Fat Herbie layout to show you. This one first here. This is a black, almost all reverse Fat Herbie. Typically on the all reverse, we also have this black piece. Usually we flip that around. It would make this one all reverse. This one has some really cool stamps on the outside. And these are tough to get. This is a Horween measuring machine stamp on the top here on the right, and the Horween ink stamp on the left. The black reverse is really cool. It's not black at all. It's more of that greenish tan shade. Take a look at the inside here because this is where I think this one just sends it over the top. All these random dye stains are really cool, and they're sort of that greenish black color of a dye mark, and that's because the black dye used to make the black shell is actually a green black. And that's why the dyes appear rather green, and sometimes the reverse interiors look green as well. So here's another Fat Herbie with some reverse black shell cordovan, and this one we call the double reverse. And I call it the double reverse because we have shell and reverse shell on the outside like you see here, but we also have shell and reverse shell on the interior like you see here. And I like both of these versions. In fact, I like all of the versions that include a reverse because I like the way the reverse looks. I like that random look, but it also ages very nicely. These reverse pieces of shell get kind of polished up like we saw in the boots. They get a little bit shinier, a little bit more glassy, and it starts to, just with normal use, it almost develops a nice little face onto the surface. And here's one more black shell cordovan Fat Herbie variant. This one is black shell cordovan with a reverse interior. And check out that interior. We were able to get 2 ink stamps on this one. That is really cool. And the darkness of this green I find very compelling as well. It's so different than the other black reverse here. You can really see a bit of the color range that we see on the black shell cordovan reverse sides here. Up next, this is a Frank the Enforcer in Intense Blue Shell Cordovan, and this is a fun color because it changes and it sort of has a color shift. Depending on what angle you look at it, it turns from an aqua blue to more of a navy blue, and I find that very interesting to look at. It's one of the only blue shell colors that Horween has, and I think this one is my favorite. And here's another blue leather, but this is actually not a strictly blue shade. This is a teal latigo interior on our Johnny the Fox. And on the outside of this Johnny the Fox, we have one of my favorite leathers. In fact, it's my favorite black leather. This is a leather called Black Dublin, and it has just an incredible grain character to it. There's not many black leathers in the world that have much natural character at all to them, and that's because most black leathers are very heavily finished. The Black Dublin from Horween is very much an aniline finished leather, so there's no solids to fill in all that natural character. So the result is you just get a really nice natural piece of incredible leather on the outside, and I think it pairs very nicely with a teal interior. And here's another very, very nice piece of naturally finished leather. This is an English tan Dublin Fat Herbie, and check out the natural character on this one. A lot of interesting things happening on the exterior of this wallet. I love the color of the English tan. It has a depth to it. You can see on the spine there where the color sort of been pulled up and flexed. It's a little bit more orange, a little bit more tan. Surface is a little bit more red and brown. And I think, again, the combination of those two is very nice. It's a nice depth of color. Great character of the grain on the outside, just like the black Dublin. On the inside of this one, more of the same. I just love the Fat Herbie, and I love the Dublin. This is a great Fat Herbie going out today. All right, the last wallet to show you of the batch going out today. This is a Johnny the Fox in natural Lancaster. And this is the lightest leather that I've ever seen come out of Horween. In fact, it's so light, it seems like I'm having a hard time not clipping the camera here with too much light. But the natural Lancaster is a veg tan leather from Horween. This is one of the newest offerings of different tannages that Horween has been making. It's very similar to the Essex leather, and it's kind of similar to the Dublin leather. If you were to put a wax finish onto the surface of this, it would be very similar to the Dublin. So very nice natural character, nice veg aging properties as well. So we have so much great stuff going out today. I loved working on those boots earlier, but I'm gonna pick my stunner of the day. I think it's this one. So many great wallets, but there's something about the dye marks on the inside of this Fat Herbie that just blew me away. I love this Fat Herbie. Definitely let me know what you thought about the boot polishing. And again, here's what those look like. They're still looking pretty great. Take a look at that luster. Really great shine on these now. It's actually really interesting how much the color has changed as well. I think we've definitely improved these just with a little bit of water and brushing. The sapphire filled in some of those scratches a little bit more. So let me know what you think about the boot polishing. Let me know what your stunner of the day was. And until next time, I hope you have a good one.